United States, border security between Mexico has been an incredible challenge to control. U.S. border protection agencies control very little of the long border fence. Thus, transnational crime organizations have had a high success rate when operating and smuggling between countries which impact border cities such as El Paso, Texas. Capturing and extraditing high-level drug lords is one of the methods U.S. has taken into action to gain further control and build a strong relationship with Mexico. TCOs challenge the efforts of both the U.S. and Mexican government to keep citizens safe and crime at low rates. TCOs continue to impact the U.S. by fueling their crimes that include drug smuggling, human trafficking, weapons smuggling, kidnapping, and extortion through its land ports of entry. Customs and Border Protection is the United States' first line of defense against dangerous people and materials from crossing the border. Their mission is to protect our country against antagonistic people and materials from other countries. To counter TCOs, Customs and Border Protection, along with other government entities, work together to prohibit the flow of illegal aliens, drugs, weapons, and other dangerous material. Mexico has observed many acts of violence. Families and Mexican entrepreneurs have fled Mexico and immigrated to the U.S. In 2008, 30,000 to 125,000 Juarenses moved to El Paso, Texas. Ciudad Juárez's gruesome violence has caused the binational border region to be called a drug war zone. El Paso's ports of entry is the gateway region for illegal commerce and interaction. However, most illegal drugs entered through these ports. In 2008 and 2011, in the El Paso region, 99% of drugs searched consisted of marijuana.
According to June Beitel from the Congressional Research Service, the Juarez Drug Trafficking Organization, or DTO for short, controlled much of the border between El Paso and Juarez in the 1980s and 1990s. It is known as a toll collector cartel. In other words, it lets other drug cartels and organizations through with their illegal materials if they pay the Juarez cartel. This is how they funded most of their illegal activities. However, they are limited to what they can do because of the isolation of El Paso and Juarez compared to the two countries and the watch under U.S. Border Patrol. According to Beitel, it is believed Armando Carrillo Fuentes oversaw 50% of Mexico's marijuana and cocaine trafficking through the El Paso-Juarez border. Since then, the Juarez DTO has included heroin and opium in their activities. However, the Juarez DTO is not the only cartel present. According to the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Field Office Division determined that 10% of El Paso drug cases came from the Beltran Leyva organization, 40% from the Sinaloa cartel, and 50% from the Juarez cartel. Juarez and Sinaloa cartels had a turf war in Juarez starting in 2008, and it lasted for several years. Hundreds of people died because of the violence, and 15% of Juarez's population was displaced between 2006 and 2010. A lot of these individuals moved their families and their lives to the United States, especially to El Paso.
A personal interview conducted with an employee at the Department of Homeland Security provided insight on the impact transnational criminal organizations have on our border city, El Paso, Texas. Common transnational crimes within our border city include drug smuggling, human smuggling, and sex trafficking. All illegal activities which have been going on for decades along the El Paso-Ciudad Juarez border. Cooperation of local, state, and federal law enforcement is critical to mitigate these activities, to gain further control along the border, and lastly, to improve relationship between the United States and Mexico.
Currently, numerous challenges exist in fighting transnational criminal organizations. Transnational criminal organizations infiltrate and bribe government officials to gain protection from law enforcement. As a result, a lack of trust has developed between two countries' law enforcement, limiting the information and evidence sharing that can help investigations. Mexico lacks institutional partnership between prosecutors and investigators. Instead of jointly investigating a case, they work independently. As a result, the process is often duplicated and inefficient. Fundamental differences in procedures exist between the U.S. and Mexico. The U.S. relies on evidence and witnesses, while Mexico relies on written reports. This fundamental difference in procedure causes conflict in joint investigations, where law enforcement from two countries have to work together. Treaties such as the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty and the Extradition Treaty were agreed to by the U.S. and Mexico to better fight transnational crime. However, executing these treaties require numerous paperwork and agreements on responsibilities, causing delays in the actual investigation and prosecution. The U.S. and Mexico have had previous success in jointly investigating and prosecuting transnational criminals. The following are some learnings from those successes. It is essential to have the commitment to eradicate transnational crime from the leaders from both U.S. and Mexico. This commitment leads to the development of trusted partnerships. Joint training and mentoring between the U.S. and Mexican authorities is essential. By training together and mentoring each other, the U.S. and Mexican authorities will be able to learn each country's procedures and policies, but more importantly, develop relationships that can lead to more cooperation. Information and evidence sharing is critical in investigating transnational crime. However, not all information is legitimate and admissible in court. Some information may not be admissible in court, but could lead to additional evidence. A trusted relationship must be built in order to share these information in a timely manner that will help capture transnational criminals. In conclusion, transnational criminal organizations cause violence and instability in the El Paso-Ciudad Juarez region. Most common crimes committed by TCOs in the El Paso-Ciudad Juarez region is trafficking of drugs, weapons, and humans across the border. Ciudad Juarez has experienced extreme violence and fatality in the recent years due to TCO activity. Numerous challenges currently exist in fighting these organizations. TCOs corrupt government and law enforcement officials to gain political protection. This causes distrust among authorities, which limits cooperation and information sharing. In addition, as transnational crime spans two different countries, the difference in culture and procedures hinder timely and efficient investigations and prosecutions. Communication and cooperation between the United States and Mexican border officials and law enforcement must be improved in order to better fight TCOs in the El Paso-Ciudad Juarez region. Building strong, trusted relationships between the two countries' border officials is critical. Increasing training and mentoring between the two countries' border officials can help educate the officials on the different cultures and procedures. In addition, it will help develop informal channels between the two country officials to share informal and sensitive information and evidence that will help expedite investigations, leading to the capture of transnational criminals. The increased partnership will provide more flexibility in fighting TCOs, improving the public safety and stability of the border citizens of El Paso and Ciudad Juarez. Thank you for your time and hope you enjoyed this presentation.